All right, today we're talking about something that's becoming, well, frankly, pretty alarming, especially for younger people, the rise of colon cancer. So let's dive in and figure out what's going on, and more importantly, what you need to know about it. So let's just jump right in and look at the new reality here, because what's happening is a huge wake-up call for really anyone under 50. Okay, get ready for this, because this stat it's a shocker. Colon cancer is now the #1 cause of cancer deaths for people between 20 and 49. We're talking about people in the prime of their lives. This isn't your grandfather's disease anymore. It's hitting us right now. And this isn't some statistical blip either. The trend is crystal clear, and honestly, it's worrying. Cases in people under 55 have literally doubled in just the last few decades. When you see something grow that fast, you've got to pay attention.
And this chart, this right here, shows you why we're even talking about this. It's all about catching it early. Look at that difference. If you find it when it's just in one spot, localized, your 5-year survival rate is a fantastic 91%. But if you wait, if it spreads or metastasizes, that number just plummets down to 13%. 13%! That tells you everything you need to know. Early detection isn't just important, it's the whole ballgame.
So what is colon cancer, really? At its most basic, it starts in your large intestine, and it usually begins as this tiny little growth. It's called a polyp. Now, most polyps are totally harmless at first, but over time, some of them can turn cancerous. The good news? You can find and remove these things before they ever become a problem. Okay, so now that we know what we're up against, let's talk about the signs. Think of these as your body's early warning system. These are signals we just can't afford to ignore. All right, first up is something that's super easy to brush off, a change in your bowel habits. You know, we all have an off week, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about constipation or diarrhea that just sticks around for more than a few weeks. See, a tumor can either block things up, causing constipation, or it can irritate the bowel, causing the opposite. Symptom number 2, dropping weight when you're not even trying. If the pounds are just melting away and you don't know why, that's your body waving a big red flag. Cancer is greedy. It actually hijacks your body's nutrients to feed itself. It's a subtle sign, but a really serious one. Okay, next up, and this is a big one, blood in the stool. Now, a lot of people immediately think, oh, it's just hemorrhoids, and maybe it is, but you can never just assume that. Ever. If you see blood, you have to get it checked out. Period. And kind of related to that last point, look out for really dark or even black stools. That dark color means the blood is older, that it's coming from higher up in your digestive system. It could be from your stomach, sure, but it could also be from the upper part of your colon. And all that slow bleeding leads us straight to symptom 5, iron deficiency anemia. A tumor can bleed so slowly you'd never notice it day to day, but over time, that tiny blood loss drains your body's iron stores, and you become anemic. And this is a huge red flag, especially for men. All right, number 6 is a really specific, kind of strange sensation. It's that feeling that you still need to go right after you've already gone. It's like you can't fully empty your bowels. The medical term is tenesmus, and it happens when a tumor, especially when that's low down in the rectum, is physically pressing on the bowel wall. And last but not least, number 7, persistent gas and bloating. And we're not talking about the kind you get after a big meal. This is bloating that just doesn't go away no matter what you eat. A tumor can cause a physical blockage that traps gas, or it can just mess up the whole ecosystem in your gut. Okay, so we've gone through 7 different signs to watch for, but now we need to talk about the most common symptom of all. And honestly, it's also the most deceptive one. You ready for this? The most common early sign is no sign at all. Nothing. By the time you start noticing any of those symptoms we just talked about, the cancer has likely been growing for a while. Waiting for a sign is playing catch-up. The best time to find this disease is when you feel perfectly fine. And that right there is exactly why screening is so unbelievably important. It's not just a good idea, it's our single best defense. It's how we find this thing before it even knows we're looking for it. So what are your options for screening? Well, it really boils down to 2 main approaches. On one hand, you have the colonoscopy. This is the gold standard. A doctor actually goes in with a tiny camera and looks at your entire colon. And the best part, if they see a polyp, they can just remove it right then and there. Problem solved. The downside, of course, is the prep and sedation. Then you've got the at-home stool tests. These are way easier. No prep, no day off work. You do it at home. but they're not as good at finding the polyps themselves, just signs of cancer, so you have to do them much more often. Okay, so that's the what. Now for the really big question. When should you start getting screened? Let's break down the timeline, because it's definitely not one size fits all. Let's not, because this is the really actionable part. If you're at average risk, the new guideline is to start screening at age 45, not 50 anymore, 45. Now, if you have a close relative, like a parent or sibling who had colon cancer, the clock starts sooner. You start at age 40, or 10 years earlier than the age they were diagnosed, and you take whichever one of those comes first. So let's say your dad was diagnosed at 42. 10 years before that is 32. That's when you start. And if you have an inflammatory bowel disease, like Crohn's or colitis, you need to talk to your doctor about starting even earlier than that.
So there you have it. We've seen the alarming trend, we know the signs to look for, and we know the single most important thing is that there often are no signs. Early detection is everything. It is the key that turns that scary 13% number back into 91%. So the only question left is, are you ready to take that first step?